So one of the things with my experiments with marbles and ramps and dominoes is I had lots of marbles, hundreds of marbles, and they'd be all over my floor at the end of the day. And I didn't like picking them up. They would roll under things and stuff, and I would try to like contain them, but it didn't work. And I like learning, but I don't like picking up marbles. So I would imagine machines as the marble was rolling down the ramp. I would think, could I build a machine that as a marble is rolling down a ramp, that it would pick up one of the marbles that already rolled down and put it on the top of the ramp? And that way, I wouldn't have to pick it up. And I knew as fast as I had that thought immediately that it was not possible to build a machine that did that because I could hear it, this marble in my mind rolling in the way that it rolls. And I knew that the sound I was hearing was related to the rate that this marble slowed down. And so, since I could hear the marble in my imagination rolling, I knew that no machine that I could ever make would be able to have enough energy to pick a marble up as a marble rolled down. I didn't know it was called a perpetual motion machine. I had never heard of this idea. But I was just trying to pick up marbles. And then I started thinking, like, maybe I could make a machine like if I rolled two marbles down, maybe I could pick up one marble. Okay. And then it would save me half the time. And I would tinker around with like different, ideas about this, modeling things. And for fun, I would try to come up with, I knew it wouldn't work, but like, could I come up with a machine that was the most efficient version of the machine that I could imagine that did what I just said? Like, could I come up with a design that was like I would come up with a design, and I would try to make it better and better and better. And I would try thousands of things in my head, thousands, basically curving ramps in my head, different geometries of ramps. I started with the straight line, and then I started bending it in different ways. And I ended up with a wheel that had 6 curved ramps in it in different positions in my mind. And I could model it. I can model it spinning, and I can hear where the marbles are rolling, and I can see how fast they would go in different curvatures. An approximation of it, like enough to know. And, like I said, I knew it wouldn't work. And then we had a pachinko machine, which is like an upright pinball machine. And my brother always got the high score, my older brother. And I was always like, he had to be cheating. And what he did was the pachinko machine had metal marbles. And we had this game called Operation that had like a magnet. And what he would do is he would use the magnet on the outside of the machine and put the marbles in like the highest score holes. And this was the way the game worked. And you would push a lever and the marble would bounce around in this thing and go into holes. And anyway, you get points. He always won, but he cheated. So, however, I knew that I had metal marbles and I knew that a magnet would make them move. So I added to my machine in my mind these metal marbles and some magnets to see if I could trick the marbles just to go a little more in one direction on this balance situation, to create a situation where we're constantly be tipping in a direction. And I had what I thought was the optimal machine, even though I knew it wouldn't work. And for 2 years, it bothered me that I could not model how long it would spin before it stopped. I had no way to know how long this machine would spin around before it stopped. There was no scenario in my mind or no test I could do in my room with my little tracks, and a stopwatch or whatever. Like there was no way to figure out how long would it spin. It's like, would it be like 1 second? Would it be 10 seconds? Would it be a minute, an hour? I couldn't figure it out. So for 2 years, I thought about it, tried different things in my mind to figure out, like, how could I figure it out? And in the end, in 1982, I built this machine in my basement because I wanted to know how long it would spin around before it stopped. And I used a wheel from a steering wheel from a go-kart my dad and I were building, but he didn't want to get a motor for it, so we stopped building it. But I had a wooden steering wheel that had a hole in the middle. and I used a piece of string to measure things, folding the string into 6 equidistant pieces, put it around the perimeter, fold them into six pieces, mark the little, the wheel with the pencil, and so I could get the equal 6, places to put the curves. I use a pack of playing cards to cut the curves, and they happened to be the right size for the curvature that I needed. And then I put some saran wrap over it so I could see inside. And I put the marbles in there first, put the magnets in there, did everything, built this thing. And the answer is it spun for like less than 1 second. And I was disappointed. I thought it'd spin longer, but my craftsmanship is terrible in general. I'm not very precise with my fingers and tools and stuff. So it was not in balance, and I had to glue a penny to the back of it. For the axle, I used like a nail, so like there was friction and stuff, but for super thin, a fine nail. But but I had to. But even when it was out of balance before I even tried to spin it, so I had to glue a penny to the back of it, like in the right spot, with globs of glue and like tape and stuff. Anyway, it wasn't a beautiful work of art. But it did spin for less than 1 second. And what I realized, as a side note, is it would have spun for longer if it was a solid piece of wood, which was, I think, a good lesson in over-engineering. So, and that was 1982. I showed it to my dad. I took this machine. I went upstairs, and I was like, "Hey, my dad." I was just bringing it upstairs to put in a trash can. My dad's like, "What's that?" I'm like, "I was trying to build this machine." I was like, "I wanted to see how long it would spin before it stopped." And he looked at me and he goes, like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Well, I had this idea." I was like, "I know it can't spin around forever." I was like, "I just didn't know how long it would spin before it stopped." He's like, "Mark, everyone knows it's not possible to build a perpetual motion machine." I was like, "Perpetual motion?" I was like, "That's a good name for this kind of thing." I was like, "But it can't work." And I threw it in the trash. And that was the end of that one.